In this WrestleTalk news, CM Punk calls out the cowards and bootlickers in WWE. Riddle's injury is a work, reportedly. WWE under yet another investigation. And Ollie's going to be here reviewing AEW Dynamite, so subscribe and enable notifications to Always On for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!
Been a busy couple of weeks in the old wrestling biz, huh? Great time to have been away, fakey. Well played you. Now, if you have been living under a Dwayne Johnson, it's all changed over at the top of WWE, because after Vince McMahon said he would temporarily be stepping down from CEO duties, he then just announced his full-fledged retirement from the company in a tweet on Friday. And with Vince gone, the co-CEO mantle falls to daughter Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan, while creative controls land in the hands of the cerebral assassin who is killing me with how slowly things are changing at Raw. It's Triple H. Part of the reason for that, though, might be explained by CM Punk, who took a big old swing at the company while speaking at San Diego Comic-Con, saying that you think because he tweeted that I'm retired that he's not going to be hands-on. He said that even though Vince is gone, that he doesn't think the culture there changes at all. It is what it is. To explain, he cited a recent example, the walkout of Sasha Banks and Naomi, firstly noting that they have bigger balls than everybody there because they had enough and actually bothered to walk. The two women were then called out on commentary by Michael Cole, of course, for having let the WWE universe down, but speculation pointed to a similar thing happening with Brock Lesnar at last week's SmackDown. Notably, after Vince retired, and there was not one mention of it on commentary before Lesnar did eventually show up in the main event. Now, calling out Sasha and Naomi was rumoured to be something that Vince demanded, and Punk took shots at everyone who took part in the weird sort of chastisement ritual. There's people to talk about and people who do it, the people who lick the boots and have the audacity to say that about those two women. Cowards and bootlickers. This is ridiculous. Why didn't they do it to Brock? I mean, would you want to get caught saying about Brock? In other news, with Trips in charge, the creative ship has begun to slowly turn in WWE. Immensely slowly. The first major move seems to have been to remove Seth Rollins versus Riddle from the SummerSlam card. It was then announced by WWE that Riddle had injured his brachial plexus and could no longer compete. But Fightful Select have reportedly confirmed that the injury is just an angle. But this does leave Rollins in the lurch, though, with no one to compete against at this year's event, leaving Mr. Freakin' to tweet, "For anyone who purchased a ticket to SummerSlam hoping to see me in action, I apologise. I did everything I could over the last 6 months to earn my spot on the show, but some things are out of my control. Thank you for always singing my song. They'll hear you someday," which is a pretty babyface thing to say if you ask me, and also prompted Trips to respond with, "I hear you," seemingly teasing a last-minute replacement for Riddle. Now, who do you think Triple H is going to pit against Seth at SummerSlam? Let me know in the comments down below. WWE is also currently dealing with more investigations than a season of CSI, and most of it stems from their Papa O'Reilly Vince McMahon and his allegations of sexual misconduct and alleged payments to cover up said conduct. But that's not all, as Business Wire reported earlier this week that national shareholders law firm Glancy, Prongay and Murray LLP is investigating the WWE on behalf of their shareholders concerning WWE's possible violations of federal securities law. When Wall Street Journal published their report into Vince's alleged activities, WWE's share prices drastic went down, like 3.4%. And then, when they followed up saying he had paid close to $12 million in hush money rather than the $3 million initially reported, it fell again by another 2%. And it's that 5% drop in stock prices that is currently prompting the investigation. Hot tag over to Ollie now.
Before we get on with the rest of the episode, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to this video's sponsor, Dave, the banking app for humans. As in Dave and Goliath, standing up to huge fees from traditional banks, as in your mate Dave. It's like help from you in the future. Dave is the banking app that can help you get up to $500 instantly with extra cash, with no interest or credit check needed, which is very helpful, especially right now to put some gas in your tank, catch up on bills, or pay to watch premium live events. Millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app to get the financial relief they need with extra cash. And as an extra bonus, you build credit just by paying the money back on time. Dave is also great for avoiding overdraft fees. Just last week, because all my direct debits came out at the same time, I went into my overdraft. Bad, Ollie. But my mate Dave could have helped that situation. So don't wait. Download Dave today at dave.com/wrestle. That's dave.com/wrestle. Sign up for an extra cash account and get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve. Member FDIC. Dave that Dave. Now it's Thursday, you know what that means. Time for my review of AEW Dynamite, Fight for the Fallen. in about 5 minutes. JR was on commentary for the full 2 hours this week, which I'm actually thankful for, because if he's watching wrestling, that means he's not being thirsty for Natalia's sister on Twitter. Take a cold shower, Jim. He promised this night was going to be one of the biggest in AEW's history. Well, that was a bit of a bold claim, because AEW has had quite a few biggest nights in their history, and I couldn't see how this rather standard card would live up to them. But by the end of the night, I think there's certainly an argument that this show was historically significant. We might look back on this episode as the rise of the AEW originals. The show kicked off in a big way, with Jon Moxley defending his interim AEW title against Rush. I thought these two had fantastic back and forth chemistry. Andrade was chased off by the Lucha Bros, and Moxley beat Rush with a paradigm shift and bulldog choke. Another really good title defense against a lower mid-carder, I guess. When are we gonna get an actual storyline for Mox? You are cold like December snow, which, as we all know, is the coldest of the snows. The JAS interrupted Mox's celebration for Jericho to demand his rematch after 2.5 years to become the first ever two-time world champion. Moxley pointed out, actually, he's the first ever two-time champion, adding some much-needed credibility to the interim belt. I wish they did that from the start, but better late than never. And wisely getting round just repeating their Revolution 2020 feud, Mox said when they fight in 2 weeks' time, he doesn't want the king of trademarks, the Wizard. He wants the last survivor of the Heart Dungeon, the Lionheart, Chris Jericho. This was a great opening for the show. It finally gave Moxley a storyline, all while weaving it into the larger JAS versus Blackpool Combat Club arc. AEW announced Trios titles were coming soon, like it's a match on Rampage, because that's what this company needs. 3 more belts. They're likely being fudged in now because the EVPs want to do their story. The Bucks later bumped into Hangman Page backstage, likely foreshadowing a team-up, which is gonna be mad awkward when Kenny gets back. And my favorite part of the whole show, and one of my favorite things of the whole year actually, we then got a run of matches and angles so epic, it felt like Team Taz the movie. Ricky Starks got an awesome hype package before his FTW title defense against Danhausen, which was essentially a fun comedy squash match. Ricky called out another challenger afterwards, which was answered by his Team Taz buddy, Hook. They went a few minutes and Hook countered the Rochambeau into a red rum where Ricky tapped, providing a wonderful moment of Taz getting to call his son winning his belt. The crowd popped huge. Then, after the break, Ricky cut an excellent babyface promo in the ring, saying how his time is now, when Powerhouse Hobbs shockingly clotheslined him mid-sentence. Nobody saw this coming, even Taz. Although Taz has pretended he wasn't pulling the strings before, I'm really excited to see where this goes, as after a year stuck on the Rampage treadmill, it finally feels like Taz's proteges are about to level up. Sammy Guevara then took on Dante Martin in a match that defied gravity so much, people forgot how Sammy actually has go-away heat and started cheering. Dante's facials and selling have greatly improved, making me genuinely concerned for his bad angle he kept landing on. Sammy won with a GTH, then Anna Jay and Tay Conti beat up Dante's second Sky Blue afterwards, to be chased off by Ruby Soho, Ortiz, and Eddie Kingston. A really great match, but a very poor follow-up to Eddie's push, him just playing second fiddle to a Ruby versus Tay Conti feud. Continuing the originals pushing, it was time for Jungle Boy's Inappropriate Line of the Week. JB finally got to answer the month of Christian making fun of his dead dad and saying he was gonna bone his mum, by saying the reason Christian is so concerned about money is because his wife divorced him last year because he's got a small penis. JB then made the call me gesture to Christian's ex-wife. Christian then interrupted backstage where he said he's going to bury JB alongside his dead dad. Christian's Inappropriate Line of the Week. The bar isn't that high, but this was one of the best promos Jungle Boy has ever delivered. Although I'd watch out for that Luchasaurus guy, he is still wearing his evil gear. Is that not concerning to anyone else around here? Jungle Boy? Swerve and Our Glory continued the momentum of their AEW tag title victory with Strickland beating both Tony Nese and Mark Sterling in a comedy handicap match, which apparently is meant to make us excited for Nese and the debuting Josh Woods, who attacked Keith Lee backstage, being their first proper feud. this is not what I would have done. AEW has quite a few amazing underused tag teams that would have been infinitely better placed for all involved. Some combination of the Blackpool Combat Club, the Lucha Bros. I don't know, what about those FTR guys? Hell, 2.0 would actually be a really great filler feud here. Yamashita pinned Thunder Rosa in Japan to set up this title match here. The second half ended up being very decent, but I don't think anyone ever believed in the outcome. Rosa retained, and the main event saw Daniel Bowl. The Battle of the Daniels. Bryan Danielson versus Daniel Garcia. And combining the trends of surprises and pushing AEW originals, Garcia shockingly got the win. Danielson was hugely protected throughout, saying that he's not 100% following his suspected concussion, passing out rather than tapping in the submission, and Jake Hager grabbing Bryan's leg from under the ring in the final moments, a terribly fitting sport entertainment spot from the JAS, but him losing is still a monumental decision. I totally get why they played into his concussion, and I agree that's a fantastic story to work around. But for me, gosh darn it made me too worried. It took me out of the match. I just want Danielson to be okay. Just beat up other people, Danielson. What did you think of AEW Dynamite? Let me know in the comments. Team Taz, the movie, Jungle Boy's promo, Dante versus Sammy, and Garcia beating Bryan Danielson. The overwhelming focus on AEW originals almost felt like an answer to the criticism that AEW has focused on everyone else's wrestlers over the last few months, be it New Japan, ROH, or ex-WWE guys. And while I don't think it was the biggest night in AEW history, it was tremendously rewarding to get back to what's been missing recently, elevating homegrown talent. This week's Dynamite is 85%. It's SummerSlam this weekend, and apparently Triple H has big plans for the show. Watch on to find out more. In this WrestleTalk news, Triple H's big plans for SummerSlam. Wrestlers now choosing WWE over AEW. AEW vs NXT round 48, and more.